ceasefire, or a ceasefire that Bibi in the base really doesn't want. And this is a way of saying, listen, I did this for you, and now uh, please accept the ceasefire in Gaza, even though it's not what you promised your base, and there's no total victory. What do you think? I mean, that's just me spitballing.
Look, I don't even want to pretend what's happening beyond the scenes. I mean, I don't want to imagine who shook whose hand, when, how, or when. But I mean, no matter what Bibi promises based in Israel, getting support from the president of the United States in Israel in such a way is a major internal political event. I mean, at the end of the day, the role is bigger than the person, and Trump is still the president of the United States. I mean, it is still a real position with a very big weight and influence worldwide. And I mean, the same goes for Bibi, for Prime Minister of Israel. At the end of the day, whether it's him in office or him in office, there will always be an office, hopefully. And it's always a bigger office than the person who's going to sit in it. And at the end of the day, it's wild. I mean, the president of the United States, in the middle of a war, that writes the greatest hero of Israel, a warrior like no other, and calls for his
Well,
stop.
I also was pointing out for the audience that Bibi's brother actually fell, like saving people at Entebbe. So
Yeah,
it's not that sentence is also very important in Bibi's own mind, because
I don't even want to think. I don't know if Bibi. I don't even want to say if I think that Bibi knew it's gonna happen or not. But at the end of the day, this guy practically wrote, "Bibi, you're the king of Israel. Long live the king." I mean, at the end of the day, people that I read a lot about, Trump being manipulated by this person, or that he decides on this or whatever. At the end of the day, this guy does whatever he wants, and it looks like he answers to no one. Because I mean, look at Elon Musk. I mean, at the end of the day, I think what people don't understand in Israel is that Trump cannot run for office again. I mean, at least not in the U.S., because in Israel he'll probably win, but he cannot run again. So at the end of the day, he's not trying to please anyone. Yesterday he slapped Bibi. Today he's crowning him.
Yeah,
Tomorrow,
by the way, I don't even know that he
what
necessarily
to actually
slammed. Okay, let's not forget. 10 days ago or so, he told the New York Times that his friend Bibi is crazy, crazy. That was a quote that he wrote out to the New York Times, meaning that he can do it. He's doing all these different things. So the whole thing is like a charade, and it's basically like one giant UFC match that there are, like WWE with Vince McMahon, like just jumping and punching people, and it's wonderful to laugh. But
look, in
just the
my
concept.
opinion,
Also, just for people to. I mean, you give me your read on it, but I actually watched the BB Files. I don't know if you watched the BB Files.
no,
Again,
I don't have energy. I try to do practical things nowadays.
but it's okay. But it's also the leaked. It's leaked
No, I know, I know.
police investigation.
I know how it
Yeah,
sounds already.
yeah. But it's, as someone who is, before October 7th, was not particularly interested in internal Israeli politics, it makes the left in Israel look insanely pathetic, because it's basically about cigars and
I hate this when
champagne bottles. Like, it's
what I
like,
don't like in Israel is that people here are so busy fighting each other that the judicial system has already become the left. But I mean, the guy literally, put aside. I don't know who he's making a joke of, but he wrote what they're having a trial, a hunt witch around Bugs Bunnies and cigars. That's what he wrote. I mean, at the end of the day,
it's not wrong. It's not wrong.
I mean, but I'm not even. I'm putting it's so much bigger than me that I'm putting my own opinion aside. I'm just stating facts. I mean, this guy, at the end of the day, he says whatever he wants to say. I mean, my only opinion is, at the end of the day, I mean, this guy, the amount of influence that this guy has, at the end of the day, we're still an independent country. I mean, we're not a dot on the flag yet, and I mean,
Well, first of all, he also wait a sec. He also basically said that. That is another important thing, because he says the United States saved Israel. And you know something? On October 8th, 2023, if the strength of the United States was not behind Israel, there would have been big problems.
yeah, but now we said that the United States He said the United States saved Israel, and now it will save Bibi, which is insane saying something like this. Just in the matter of like, put aside this tweet, like saying what I would not want to see is the support from a US president to anyone, to any candidate in any country during a campaign. At the end of the day, trying to influence campaigns in other countries are dangerous. And I don't like, I mean, what this guy can do in one tweet, we can never ignore the impact. It will be on every single poster, campaign ads, videos. I mean, Bibi's campaign is going to show this tweet in every single angle possible. But I just hope for like the sanity of the political system in Israel that this is the last tweet about. I mean, so deeply in internal politics, and I don't know. Let's
Well,
go back.
it's also crazy.
I like winning
Again,
wars better than politics.
for sure. But
Yeah.
what's really crazy is majority of the hostage families who are not necessarily on the best, they don't necessarily think so highly of Benjamin Netanyahu, but almost every hostage that is released or has been released and comes and speaks in America or speaks to Trump says, Donald Trump, you're my hero, you're my savior, we trust you, whatever you say is unbelievable. What you do for the Jewish people is incredible. Thank you for your support. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for your support. And now President Trump turns around and says the greatest Israeli to ever live is basically Benjamin Netanyahu. So there are heads exploding, and I actually don't even know how people are going to respond because it actually like it's one of the really difficult things to watch amongst thousands of really difficult things to watch since October 7th has just been, I think, the infestation of Bibi hatred in much of the rhetoric where I don't necessarily know that it was like appropriate. This is not a defense of Bibi. It's just saying that it was just inserted in every single thing. They'd be like, oh, the border was porous. Bibi's fault. Oh, there's
I think
everything.
no hatred in here is crazy. We can talk about this for 2 hours. I mean, in Israel, the biggest political identity has become: do you support Bibi or do you not support Bibi? And this is insanity on both sides. I'll start with that. You cannot. I mean, you cannot correlate everything to one person, even though he's the leader. I mean, if you correlate every failure, you have to correlate every success. I mean, that's math at the end of the day. And I think people are so blinded with, you started about talking about the hostage families that some of them don't like Bibi. Maybe people here, and then we talked about the fact that the judicial system is left. People here have correlated everything to like Bibi or no Bibi. Uh, um, you know, if you talk about the environment in Tel Aviv, you're a lefty, so you don't like Bibi. So I mean, I cannot go recycle. If I recycle I have a plastic bottle here, and if I take it out to recycling, you can correlate it into saying I hate Bibi because I'm a lefty in Tel Aviv. And at the end of the day, the amount of hatred has driven people nuts here. So that's
Yeah, I
something
mean that's yes. I will
on
also
both
say that
sides.
100%. I mean, I had a hostage family. Someone came on my podcast and actually said that Benjamin Netanyahu M word their cousin, and he's responsible for that death. Like, and now Trump is turning around and saying that this is essentially the greatest Jew who has ever lived. Bibi Melech Yisrael.
I prefer Rabbi Nachman.
Yeah. So no, it, again, I'm just going to read this last part here. He deserves so much better than this, and so does the state of Israel. Bibi Netanyahu's trial should be canceled immediately, all capped, or a pardon given to a great hero who, capital G, capital H, great hero, who has done so much for the state. Perhaps there is no one that I know who could have worked in better harmony with the president of the United States, all caps, me, than Bibi Netanyahu. It was the United States of America that saved Israel. And now it is going to be the United States of America that saves Bibi Netanyahu. All caps. This travesty of quote unquote justice could not be allowed.
He's like he's not even. You know, the crazy thing about Trump sometimes is because when you're like when I see Trump, especially as a president, I think some people don't understand the downside of not being able to rerun is that you get to a point where you cannot be elected again. So I mean, who cares? You're on your own. You don't have anyone to please. And I mean, this guy. I mean, he's not recommending. He's highlighting in caps. Immediately canceled. He's like ordering. He's ordering the just judicial system
And
in
now
Israel.
basically you're gonna
I
have
just hope he won't bomb it if they don't order it. I mean, he needs to understand that he
it's
wants
crazy
them
though.
to
So
do it. He just-
now you're gonna have these left wing politicians come out and say, "Thank you, President Trump, for all of your help with Iran. You've saved our country. Thank you. But stay out of our politics." And he knows that they can't say that to him because if they say that to him, Trump will just go ballistic on them and say, "You're ungrateful, horrible people." And then
or he'll just
essentially,
ignore them, and then they'll be laughed at in Israel for being ignored while Bibi gets praised. And at the end of the
but
day, Trump, no one wants to mess with him. I don't think
yeah,
anyone.
no, but I'm saying that basically the left wing politicians, if they push back publicly, now if the left wing politicians push back against Bibi, they're pushing back against Trump. And Trump
So that's the
is the
thing.
only hope for the hostages and the only hope for democracy in Israel because that's what they've said to Trump. So
I it depends. At the end of the day, I hope that's what I was saying in the beginning. I hope Trump will not correlate himself with any candidate in any country because you want to have a democracy where opinions are like I'm really on the same page with. I don't want to have foreign politicians involved in our internal things. By the way, I would not want to have foreign planes bombing our enemies. I would want to see the IDF going strong and independent, but that's a
nah,
different angle as well. But uh,
IDF strong and independent. Okay.
because it's funny. Like, because at the
Yeah,
end of the day, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I don't want you to deal with our crap,
well,
but
he's Ministry of
you
Defense.
are dealing with our crap all the time.
How many employees does the Ministry of Defense have in America or the IDF?
Gazillion, less than FIDF.
No, more, way more. FIDF has like 100 plus.
Okay,
Dude,
the FIDF has
dude,
more real estate.
dude.
Never mind.
Israel, for by the way, it's a lot of it's America's fault because America wanted to make sure that they had control in the region geopolitically and keeping things in their sphere of influence, as you might say. So it's not as if America didn't want that. America did want that. But when you talk about Israel even trying to develop its own planes, that was canceled a lot of times because America wanted those purchases coming through America. So it's not
Yeah,
just,
because no, I'm not really. I'm all up for the cooperation, but at the end of the day, I was saying I do agree with the statement of do not mess with our own internal politics that any country would say to a different country. But at the end of the day, when you have American tax money paying your protection, I mean, it's like it's like letting your dad buy you a house and then not letting him tell you how to use it. He bought you
again,
that.
let's put it this way. Don't forget what Bill Clinton did with Shimon Peres and Bibi before. I mean, look, not even a year ago now, maybe just over a year ago.
Yeah, it wasn't okay. No, that's not okay. You don't mess with
Chuck
countries.
Schumer literally came out and said that Benjamin Netanyahu should resign. So
I do not think
yeah,
that any politician should a politician from a democratic country should not try and maneuver or move mandates in any other countries. I mean, because it's like "Ma shesanu alecha al ta'aseh lechaverecha." It's just saying in the Bible.
yeah, I
It's like
understand, but the thing is, there's a lot of unseen
that's for no, that's
things
for
that
sure.
are going on.
That look at the end of the day, I was at the Knesset a few weeks ago, something completely else, but someone told me,
Did you get screamed at by
all the
that
time,
maniac? What's her
all the
name?
time, all the time. I get screamed at when I'm in the Knesset. I get screamed at.
No, what's
That's
her name? The real maniac who screamed at you.
I'm not allowed. It's I how do you the defamation? I'll be sued.
Are
People
you
here
serious?
about no, when I'm joking, but you're talking about Tali
Okay,
Gotzi.
sorry. Hold on. Who is that kind lady who had a very intense interaction with you?
A member of the Knesset, Tali Gottlieb,
Tali Gottlieb. Okay.
great
Wait a
politician.
sec. Okay.
Look, she's from Bibi's party, so if I'm talking about her, Trump might tweet about me. I don't know. It's a weird correlation. I don't want to go there. They seem to be protected by the president now. She's from Likud.
I
Tali
know.
Gottlieb.
What do you think that like Yair Lapid is thinking right now?
You're causing me trouble by asking me questions about people. Look, it's 3 a.m. I hope for everyone that they're asleep.
No, they're definitely. I bet you that.
Everyone were waking.
I
Yeah,
bet
probably.
you they're awake. They're like sweating. They're taking cold showers. They're petrified. I mean, look, they're literally going to go up there. Like the whole reason that half of these people show up at the Knesset now is to just basically go up there and go on some diatribe against Bibi and say how he's evil and doesn't
Yeah, but
care.
I mean, no. But the thing is with the Knesset is once you learn it, you see that both sides of the map are not very, I would
Oh,
say,
I'm not.
professional and productive.
Look, who's
Not
that?
that.
One of these rabbis just said that he should have left Yuli Edelstein in Russia.
Oh
Is
yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
dad- I mean, like again, crazy stuff. I'm not support.
No,
I'm not
Knesset is a crazy place. I mean,
again. Again, it's 100%. But there's only one side that just was told that they're the greatest Jew in the history
oh
of
yeah, 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 yeah.
Israel, and
One
now
side is
and they need Trump. And it's the thing is that Trump doesn't like ungrateful people.
everyone needs Trump. That's the problem in Israel.
Right.
And
So now, but
I can tell you one thing. One thing. If a trial about any kind of champagne should be held, it should be about what they're drinking now in Bibi's office because they're probably popping bottles now. The champagne that they were talking about is probably open now. I mean, this is crazy. For one side, it's a huge political win. I mean, I would want to see the polls tomorrow morning.
by
It's
the way,
crazy.
what is this Bugs Bunny doll? I didn't remember that.
I don't know. Look, I mean, people. Do you remember when Trump posted the Trump Gaza video?
Yes.
It just went like people haven't noticed it. He posted an AI video of him and Bibi sitting on the beach,
Yeah,
like
no, it's amazing. It's an
shirtless,
amazing video.
eating hummus. I mean, this guy is.
It's next level.
I know that you need to go. I
No,
want
no,
to.
no, no. Now we're getting it, but it's next level here. And the truth is that again, if you look at the rhetoric that again, it goes both sides, and I'm not saying that the right doesn't do the same thing, but I don't think Trump is paying attention to what the
I don't think
third
Trump is
ranked
paying
member.
attention to anyone other than what he wants to say. He probably heard it. Like people think that everything is a lot more complex and hands are being
Yeah, no, but
shaken.
my point is that he doesn't care what someone in Bezalel Smotrich's party says about Yair Golan. Like he's not going to
I
jump
don't
in.
think he cares
But the
about what
second,
Bezalel Smotrich says, period, or what about Yair Lapid says, or anyone. He cares
no,
about
but
what.
no, but now, any person that challenges Bibi is challenging Trump.
I don't agree with that. I
He
don't agree with
he
that.
literally wait, no. Listen, hear me out. He literally says, and this is why to me, it's it's like next level is could not have been better, sharper, or stronger in his love for the incredible Holy Land. Anybody else would have suffered losses, embarrassment, and chaos. Bibi Netanyahu was a all caps warrior. So basically, if you challenge him, you are threatening the security of the state of Israel, and nobody else can work with Trump like this man works with Trump. So if you are Yair Lapid, if you are Benny Gantz, if you are Gadi Eisenkot, and you get up and say anything about Bibi, you are now saying that you are smarter than Donald Trump and that you know better than Donald Trump and that you think you know the security better than Donald Trump when Donald Trump is paying your bills? How do you respond?
You said so many names of so many important people. I don't even want to respond.
And my point is that they can't respond.
uh,
They can't say that because the second they do it, now they're undercutting the legitimacy of
I
Trump's.
don't think we'll be seeing uh, people like you mentioned going around and tweeting bad things about Trump shouldn't have stated this. I think they will try to just let it go. But I think at the end of the day, like Bibi's, this will be in the heart of Bibi's campaign. I think the Benny Gantz and Yair Lapid, they're just going to ignore it. If I have to guess, by the way,
Oh,
um,
by the way, what is Yoav Gallant doing right now? Again, the worst, perhaps the worst minister of defense in the history of the Jewish people, who was
I don't know.
fundraising for. I just have to
He,
say this anytime I mention Yoav Gallant, Mister College Scholarship Fund,
take
even
a
though,
glass of water. I know what you're going to say.
yeah, but um, fundraising for college scholarships
It's a
when the
mess.
border was porous and the H group was attacking the border. Yoav Gallant went to Chicago to fundraise for Friends of the IDF, like the moron that he is.
They have
Complete.
raised 250,000 flip flops, 100,000 hooba boobas.
It's actually $172,000 worth of flip flops last I checked. But again, Yoav Gallant, complete buffoon. And he's been going around basically trying to kneecap Netanyahu and make sure that people don't forget about him, even though he is a joke. So, what do you think Yoav Gallant's thinking right now?
I have. I'll tell you my problem with Yoav Gallant is that the reason that he resigned, I don't know what was the internal politics, was the draft law crisis. And he wasn't resigned; he was fired. Sorry. Um, and I think I'll say a few things. At the end of the day, especially during war, but in normal days, the prime minister should have the ability to fire the minister of defense anytime. I mean, he's his work. He works for him. That's A. And I think Gallant, from a political perspective, has lost the ability to clean some of his name because he was the Minister of Defense October 7th. This is something that will always go with him. But he wasn't when we attacked Iran. Israel Katz was. And I mean, my state with my status with those people is very complex always, like because if I look at Gallant, the work he was doing around the draft law, I think if he would actually worked, I mean, he didn't get to the point where he actually did what he said he would do, but it looked like he was going to try. So I give him a bit of credit for that. And when I look at the Minister of Defense now, Israel Katz, most of the interaction I have with him is on the draft law level basis. Like I've met with him around the subject, and I would say that very disappointed. I was very disappointed to see after I left the meeting that people say that Bibi is the actual Minister of Defense, and I remember walking out of Israel Katz's office saying, "Okay, lucky, that's good. Bibi could probably be not a bad Minister of Defense." But
He
in
has been
general,
before. Yeah, no,
he's
I
pretty
think it's
much is now. By the way, he's now.
for sure. But I'll say this: the reason that it's so great that Yisrael Katz is the Minister of Defense, or at least signs as the Minister of Defense, and
They
BB
should
is
just
telling him
delete
what
his
to do.
Twitter. That's all. Just take his
Yeah,
Twitter.
if it's better because I don't think Gallant and BB were really on speaking terms, and it's hard to effectively run a war. And there's
Look,
a
Bibi is
certain
the
level of
prime
trust.
minister of Israel. I'm up for the prime minister of Israel, especially during a war, to have a minister, not only especially a minister of defense, but any minister that he knows how to work with, that he trusts, that he sees as a professional. And as the head of the country, I think he should, the office, not the person, should always have the ability to fire a minister. That's it. I mean, at the end of the day, I think people here are overestimating their knowledge when they talk about politics, always because it's the national sport. And I think trying to criticize the relationship between the Minister of Defense and the Prime Minister from any subject that wasn't in the room. You don't like. I mean, we don't know what happened. And at the end of the day, what I always say about those things, clear cut. Prime Minister can fire a minister, can replace. It's his government. At the end of the day, there's a Knesset. They can vote to kick him out, to overthrow the guy. They can vote. It's a democracy, and there are mechanisms for and ways for this to be, regulated. And this guy was fired by the head of the country. He's allowed. I don't care about Yoav Gallant. I mean, the only opinion I have about Yoav Gallant is that he needs to wear something else than black shirts. My only real opinion, and that any politician that was in office in October 7th will always hold this. I'm not gonna elect any politician that was like as a citizen. I'm not gonna elect any politician who has held office within the last, October 7th. I'm not gonna elect the Minister of Defense on October 7th. Probably not the Prime Minister as well, or the Ramatkal, or people that were a bit before, a bit whatever. But
What do
at
you
the end
think?
of the day,
What do you think Herzia Levies thinks reading this?
I forgot that there is a person named Hertia Levi. I love Eyal Zamir. Such a great guy.
Well, he's better than the corpse of Herzia Levy. I mean, anyone is. So, what do you think he's thinking?
I don't know. Poor guy. I mean, at the end
Poor,
of the day,
oh, whoa. Oh, yeah. No.
no,
I
he
was in
still
sympathy.
devoted his life to the army. And I mean, I'm not
Okay,
saying
and he
that.
sucked at his job.
Yeah. He failed at his job terribly. The worst way he could have. He could have. I mean, I don't. I would not. I don't defend him. I as a soul, I feel as a Jew, I feel sorry for him. It must have been. It must be horrible being him, in like a mental perspective. It's one hell of a burden to carry on your back. It's
I'm texting some of the.
the Trump's advisors. Just tell if you get it.
No,
Trump's
I'm
social
texting.
now.
I'm texting some of the people who hate Bibi, asking for their comment on this.
Does
on
anyone
this
who hates
thing.
Bibi want to go in the podcast? I mean, you should. If you get Trump to just tweet Daniel Mal or unit, whatever, you're gonna get 100 million, or Daniel should be the MOD, or the Minister of Defense. You'll probably be elected. The Twitter account for
You could
Trump.
probably get some.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
didn't tweet it. By the way, he put it on Truth.
truth,
Like, I
truth social.
This guy is so deep into beefing with people that he doesn't use Twitter anymore.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, but he also doesn't do it because he owns Truth Social.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. I've sent out a few different ministers. I'm going to ask Yair Golan if you would be willing to join the podcast to discuss this. I mean, it's just, I guess, got to say that just from a
Texting Yair Golan now is like straight disrespect.
I'm texting. I just texted.
It's 3:30 in the morning, and this guy is probably like in the middle of a panic attack.
He's like
He's refreshing, waiting for Trump
you
to
see,
delete
by the way,
it.
that Iran actually quoted Yair Golan, and they said even the generals of Israel say that they hunt babies as a hobby. Like,
Yair Golan is one of those figures. Put your political way aside, put my opinion aside, which is he should not be elected anyway. He should buy a house in the north, very nice view. Just go retire there. I wish him to regain happiness. Especially as a guy who was, as again, the office is bigger than the person as Gan Ramatkal. But he's one of those guys that when you talk about them in TV, like one of my hobbies is to turn on like channel 14 when they talk about Yair Golan. It's the national sport for the right wing is to trash Yair Golan after what he said.
Before I let you go, let's talk about some of the most egregious fundraisers that were done during this 12-day campaign in Iran.
I was so
Um,
busy doing actual things, I didn't even notice. What
yeah,
what
so
what what? Who took the money from the good
um,
causes to real estate?
FIDF claimed that they were helping on the front lines.
Where?
I don't know.
Brooklyn.
I don't know. There was
Oh,
one person who actually claimed that they were delivering food to the Air Force. I'm like, I
in the
promise. What?
Air Force is well fed.
I was like, I promise you that they do not need.
You know, I'm in Israel. If you need an authenticator, tell him I'll give you all your money, but I want my guy to come and film. Where is the food? Where are the people?
The other one was JNF. Was I mean, I don't know if you saw people. They sent out a text message like as the first ballistic missiles are going, like help now. I mean, it was just a little bit poor taste.
Plant more trees.
Yeah, so some people were pretty annoyed about that one. I just think that it's also kind of crazy that there's so many organizations that raised hundreds of millions of dollars to prepare for emergency situations, and then the emergency comes and they say, "Give us all of your money right now, or we're not going to be able to respond to the emergency." I said, "You literally spent every day since October 7th fundraising for this exact moment, and then this moment happens and you magically have no money."
It's the Jewish people, wonderful people.
It's
I'm
yeah.
coming to the U.S. beginning of August. The only
Okay.
good thing I can tell you.
Ezzy, what's up? Just seeing you on Instagram live here. It, um, what else did we have? Oh, also,
Did Yed go down and reply?
let's see. Did Yergolan reply to me or my request? Um, no, not
Yes.
yet.
And think.
Should I call him? No,
No, no, no.
no, no. Also, I have Bassem. I'm gonna ask Bassem Naim from Hamas. I'll ask him.
Him you can call. Do you think he's alive?
Yeah, no, he's in Qatar. Yeah. Um. So yeah.
You know what would have been funny if like the Iranian attack in Qatar would have landed inside Hamas HQ Qatar.
Oh, yeah.
That
Well,
would
did
have been
you see I don't know
literally
if you
the
saw
bomb.
I don't know if you saw Trump trolling them today, but they said they asked he's like, "They asked us if the timing worked for them." They asked them, they're like, "Oh, they asked if they could shoot at 1 o'clock. We're wondering if this works." And we said, "Yeah, of course. 1 o'clock is great." Then we had everyone out of the base. So the whole thing is pretty crazy. Um, okay, so hopefully we can connect tomorrow as well because this is
Yeah,
unbelievable.
maybe they go to election tomorrow. We can talk about again.
Oh, you're saying Bibi after receiving this endorsement is just like, oh, we should just go to elections right away.
Look, I don't know, but I don't know if you there was a poll in Channel 11 today, which is like the national channel. It should be the most non-politically biased channel. Last poll by BB was, I think, I don't catch it on the numbers, but I think it was 23 before Iran and went up to 31. Something like this, like 8 mandates,
31 seats.
31 mandates, yeah.
Wow.
And I think at the end of the day, people are, life is a matter of momentum, and when you come strong to a war, an election is a war. And I mean, if you come as a leader after Iran with the endorsement of the United States president. I don't know what's going on with the hostage, but I pray as a Jew that they'll come back. But I think that, if he brings this as an achievement as well, or at least finishes it, it's not going to be something that, they'll talk about it always, but you understand what I'm trying to say without saying anything that will piss anyone off. And what's happening, it's so untalked about. What's happening in Syria, what's happening in Lebanon, what's happening in with Saudi Arabia. I mean, I think we're on the verge of a few more peace treaties in the next few years, maybe before. I mean, we've seen things happening very fast here in the Middle East, and I think that all of those achievements are starting to add up to something bigger you know
Yes.
and I'm not gonna vote for Bibi for sure, 100%. I'm not his supporter, but I'm not his hater as well.
I'll
I have
say
a
I'll
lot
say
of
this also, and I mean I put this in my group as I try to be clear about it. You have a lot of names of people that really failed on October 7th and failed before that and even failed after that. And you just have to tip your cap and say, well done on this specific job. And
yeah.
there's a lot of gray, for
That's
I,
for
I
me.
hear
October.
I hear the name Shlomi Binder and I want to projectile vomit.
He
Yet
was my machat in the army, and I think he's a great guy. You see, that's exactly the thing. Some people, at the end of the day, I think it's a bit like, I would say the right to be elected. I think is a bit like trusting somebody. It takes a lot of time to build it. Trust is earned; it's not given. And once you destroy it once, it's never gonna come back the same way it was. If a friend stabbed you in the back, you're never gonna fully trust him again.
oh wait, by the way, speaking of stabbing in the back, what is Naftali Bennett thinking right now?
I'm putting it aside. I'm not even talking. I want to talk about politicians. I'll end my
He's also
sentence.
crying, but yeah, go. Okay.
I'll end the sentence. I'm saying, when going back to that, when at the end of the day, when I see October 7th as like, responsibility, I see it as a stab in the back, because the trust that was given was broken, even if it was unintentionally. I don't think anyone intended for October 7th to happen. But once trust is broken, it literally cannot be rebuilt. In my heart, at least, I think trust is a one time break thing. And that's the reason I won't vote for Bibi. But I think, with that being said, you cannot take achievements and just throw them all out in the trash. I mean, what is happening in Iran is historical. What's happening with Trump is historical. What's happening with Syria, Lebanon, and Saudi Arabia? If we get one peace treaty within one of those three countries, this is the change of the Middle East without war. No more war in one country, which is great. And I'm putting aside the hostage thing, because I think the hostage thing should not be political. I think the hostages should come back. I mean, it's almost 2 years. I mean, I'm not giving. I try not to put the hostages thing and politics together. Never. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at this October 7th in terms of responsibility, the country has failed, and one of the prices it has to pay is whatever the price is to bring those people home, because it's not the fault of those people, and they're not a political issue. I don't think that. I mean, the Jewish thing to do is to bring them home, and I think
I was gonna wait a second. I was gonna let you go, but now you open up this can of worms before you say this. Okay, there's two things here. One, the living and the deceased. Okay, the living, absolutely, and it's also a living. It's also a Jewish value or principle to provide a proper burial, without a doubt, 100%. The conflation of the living and the dead when it comes to potential deals and potentially jeopardizing security, I think is a problem. And the issue I have when it comes to people invoking Jewish values, when it comes to the hostages and other issues like that, is simply, if you want to get into that like halachic debate, then we'll get into that debate. If not, they just throw this around and it's not a serious discussion. Obviously, they want to return, but if, for example, if you're to say, "Hey, we're going to go rescue a hostage because it's a Jewish value, but we're going to lose 60 soldiers trying to rescue," you'd say that's not a Jewish value. So the discussion has been very skewed.
I mean, I'll try and walk on eggshells here.
You know what I'm saying? Though?
One, I think that's why I said, at this point, especially for the ones that are alive, at any price, because uh, putting any one Jew in danger is not worth 1,000 terrorists in jail. That's, first of all, that's the easy equation for me. But I would say, in terms of I'll look at it the other way. Those who are alive should be returned at all cost.
No.
I do not want to imagine.
I have a question. Are you going to give up Tel Aviv?
You should have a talk show here in Israel.
Well,
I don't
you
have an
said-
answer. I mean, at
you
the end
just
of the
said
day,
at
no.
all costs. I'm saying If you're
No, no,
gonna,
no.
no, but have a real discussion about it.
No, I'm saying at the cost. I would say at all cost that is around the costs that we've previously talked about as a country, like releasing terrorists and stuff like that. Yes, I think giving
I
back
don't
to
think that that's even I don't think that's an option. I think if someone would have come to Israel and said, "You can give up,"
like
like if
empty,
someone,
like in the October. I always thought at the end of the day, I was always okay with just emptying both. Take all of the
oh,
prisoners, bring. I
he,
think you know what's the problem, Daniel. I don't think I look at it as the perspective of Hamas. Why would I give back my last hostage? What do I have in my hands after I
I
gave
don't,
my last hostage
I
back?
don't disagree with you. I'm just saying
Why
though that
would I ever give him?
okay, well, at this point, I would say at, at this point, I actually think that if Hamas gave up all the hostages, that Israel would let them stay in control of Gaza
No, but
because
it's such a big because it brings me back to
socially
what you
they
were
would have.
talking about with the dead, with how like which is a horrible question, but the bottom line was how do you price hostages that will only be brought for burial? And I think at the end of the day, the question that we need to ask is, I don't know, I want to imagine how does it feel to be a hostage family, but think about
One second,
like
one second, one second, one second. It's not feelings based.
no, no, I'm saying something else. How do you, as a hostage family, I read a horrible article uh, with the mother of one of the hostages that was identified as one of the, I think it was Jonathan Samero. That's his name, right? The guy who came back now.
Yeah, I yell it.
Yeah. So she said something about, I think it was her.
She thought he was alive.
Yeah. So that's so with the berry with the footages. How do you like? I mean, that's the thing. How can you make sure that the hostages that you think are not among us anymore? How can you make sure? I mean, if there is no way to make sure,
Well, okay.
how do we stop? I mean, how do we know? I mean, because I understand what you're saying. At the end of the day, yes, a Jewish soul that is still alive is of. I'm not a religious person, so maybe I'm wrong with Judaism, but That's what my heart says. A living person is not priced like a person that will only be brought for burial. He's still alive. You have a life to save. You know, and
Of
but
course,
how
if you
how do
look
you
at
decide to give up before you got it back?
I'm not listen. I'm not saying okay, and this is where it gets very complicated because sometimes families don't necessarily want to believe it. I'm not talking about a yell at. We could talk about uh vaguely. I will just say vaguely, okay? If you have certain hostages that you know confirmed that are deceased, but the family doesn't accept it for whatever reason, there's there's only so much you can do. I'm not saying you want to go
No,
out there
I
and
agree, but how do you accept it? I mean, I, I do not want to imagine what they use to understand what has happened. But I mean, at the
the
end
New
of the
York
day,
Times actually had a really the New York Times actually had a fascinating article about it. It's because the sequence of events is out of order, which leads to some of the confusion. So basically they they're not sure. Like the family learns about the incident, they learn about the person disappearing, then they're going and looking for them, and then it turns out that they might have actually been murdered on day one. So the out of sequence.
and
Um,
again, not only the family, same thing for like the IDF, and like at the end of the day, they're trying their best, and even if they tell you, you know, if they would have told me, if I would have had someone, a family member that was taken hostage, and they would have told me there is a 99.99999% that he's not among us anymore. How do you believe that? I mean, would you know?
it depends the nature of it. Yeah, it depends
Yeah,
on.
but how you need, and then you need to dig in. You develop.
No,
I,
I
I I don't
again
know how
listen.
this
And
conversation works.
it sounds very callous. It
It's
sounds
horrible.
very mean. But at some point, you do have to make a decision for the greater security and for
No, no, I understand what I'm saying. How do you? at the end of the day, unfortunately, death is a matter of yes or no. And I guess for some of the scenarios we're talking about, it was a clear cut yes or no. Um, and I guess some weren't. And then, they tried taking footage and collecting evidence. And, they've conducted, we're good at, investigating here in the show. And after all that, how do you, it's it's unfortunate to finish on this tone. I'll fall asleep if I stay here too much. It's almost 4 a.m. here, but it's one of those things. It's greater than Bibi. It's bigger than Bibi. It's bigger than Trump. It's bigger than any of their offices. I mean, people who are being held dead or alive for 2 years, by a terror organization is just something that is. I don't think it's imaginable. I don't really. That's one of the
Matt,
reasons I don't talk about
Matt,
it is because it's. I don't even understand the magnitude of this craziness. I mean, Black
this is
Mirror could have not written this.
yes. All right, this has been fun. Let's do it again. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. Crazy night in Israel with Trump's announcement, and let's see the political.
You should call your podcast. It's always a crazy night in Israel.
Yeah, but I said Trump saves Bibi. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yeah. Good night.